Welcome back to another episode of With Sonar. So glad you guys are able to join us today. Remember, we're taking comments live on Facebook and LinkedIn, so be sure to throw those there, and our guy Kyle, Mr. Miami, will be taking those. But first, folks, we've got a very special guest here today. The dude, Mike Vincent, is joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Luke.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Very
being here.
Very special guest, huh?
Absolutely. I'm just glad I get to hang out with you and not this joker over here.
Ooh, aggressive.
Sorry.
Aggressive. It's only Wednesday.
Come on. My mic on? Whoops. No,
I'm glad to be here, man. Welcome, everybody. Let's do this.
Absolutely.
Right?
Let's do it.
Crazy times, huh, Luke?
Absolutely. Very crazy indeed. I mean, we're seeing, markets up, markets down. We're probably going to talk a little bit today how to leverage that, hopefully how to make money during that time, right?
Yeah. The narrative's been we've hit the peak. It's falling faster than it grew. When it grew very, very quickly, it's falling. So, that mindset of, hey, now that it's falling and the volumes are dropping off, it's easy to just say, well, there's nothing I can do about it, right?
Right.
But there's still plenty of opportunities out there if you keep looking, right?
Right. Plenty. We're gonna talk about today. I think too, there's this mindset, and I know the guys on Put That Coffee Down, we're talking today, but there's a lot to do with. I mean, I think you can use it to focus sales efforts.
Yeah.
In one sense, but I think you can even use it in another sense to leverage to potentially even boost your margins to be able to react a little bit faster, make some of those decisions a little bit faster too.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that delineation between those two is really important. I mean, when we first started this, we started talking about on Put That Coffee Down, and George Abernathy, him that is G, was on there I think last week or whatever it was, but talking about the fact that during these times, you may not be able to make that short sale with people because they're cash strapped, but they see the value, or what have you. They're focused on other things. In maritime, they're focused on blank sailings and how to keep goods moving and not, lose $26 billion through this by keeping capacity, a little bit tighter and keeping rates up. But be that solution provider, right? Show them where those values are through this, and be that solution provider so that you're the guy they call at the end of this, right? You're the one that's helping them through this, even though they don't have the wherewithal financially to buy what you're selling, right?
Right.
That relationship, there's going to be those long sales, right?
Right. And it's all about getting yourself to be in that position to be Johnny on the spot.
Yeah.
To put your business in the right position so that when someone's route guide falls out of, or they come back on into a different type of position, like could be alcohol companies that now changing to hand sanitizer. Now they're going completely different supply chain routes. So how do you be able to be that guy that someone can go to in order to capitalize on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Bob Poulos from V3 Transportation was on with us last week, and he is hauling completely different stuff. It's all final miles expedited type of thing, but now he's moving medical supplies and equipment and that type of stuff from customers who were traditionally other products. So you can pivot. And more to the point of the show and what you want to talk about, Luke. Sorry about this, but to get it back on track is really being that intermediary or broker or carrier or whatever it happens to be to help those shippers and be that added value right now, because things are fragmented and are crazy. And if you're using Sonar and you're looking at daily real-time information of what's going on and got these signals, you can help steer your customers through these difficult times. Right?
Well, that's a good point too, and that actually goes back to when Craig Fuller, he was being interviewed not too long ago by Bloomberg, and was talking a lot about how the problem is a lot of folks are using historical models, and historical models are okay when the market's flat, when there's not a lot changing, but not when the market's really volatile. You need to have something like Sonar that's a little bit more real time, that's looking forward, that's predictive.
Well, black swan events throw that out the window, right?
It makes the historical models work.
And then when you have a black swan event like this, which is something we've never seen before, it really destroys it, because even a hurricane, they happen, right? So there's kind of a playbook, right? I mean, varying degrees of the severity of the hurricane and where it hits, where a major population center or something that's not quite as populous or whatever can change it. But there's a relative playbook there. There isn't for this. This is unprecedented for us.
When you came from a asset-based LTL carrier before you came
Yeah, I've been an asset-based LTL. Well, began my career in asset-based LTL. Yeah.
What was there anything was there anything or any event that was as close to this as you can look for in a situation?
Not when I was in the LTL. When I was in maritime, I was running container freight stations for one of the largest ocean carrier into Central America, South America, and the Caribbean combined.
Yeah.
Out of Miami. So I was there during 9/11.
Gotcha.
Right, and that would be the only thing that I could liken to this. And we've talked about it before. The difference there was that it happened to everybody at the exact same time. Right. Yeah. Boom! It was a singular event. I mean, at the time we didn't know it. You had, where is the next one going to happen? That type of stuff, that type of fear. But it happened, and everybody was affected at the exact same moment. Everybody's on a different timeline.
Yeah.
Right? China was down, now they're coming back up, now we're down. Now we're starting to come up, somebody else is down.
Right.
You had, Wuhan came back to work.
Yeah, that was announced today, yeah.
And then you've got Czechia coming on, like tomorrow, I think it is. And you've got Denmark, Netherlands, and so on. There's different time frames over next week coming on. And that's where things get a little bit strange worldwide. But then looking in at the United States, some are coming up and some are coming down. So.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And I was reading too, when Wuhan's coming back, their lockdown finally got ended. Everybody's going out, obviously. And, they're hitting the bars, they're buying stuff. I mean,
they got all these Lukes and Vincents just hitting the streets.
Yeah. That's where Luke is.
Yeah. Sorry, but no, it's pushing they're going back into retail places. They're buying things again. They're getting out, and I think it could be something like we've seen right now. So we've seen freight volume surge up, and we can show this in a minute, but we've seen freight volume surge 30%, and now they're back down to right where they started at the beginning of February,
right.
plus or minus. Mm-hmm. And it's possible when everything, surfaces off again, all this stuff is behind us, we might see a surge again. Everybody's going out and buying stuff, having a good time. Restaurants have to restock a little bit more heavily. Mm-hmm. We might see that. I don't know.
That's a solid point. I mean, that's when you even, our own economists and financial people on here, everybody's kind of, it could look like a V. It could be a U, it could be a sound wave, it could be, I heard today, Bowden Distal talk about a W shape, which is severe Vs, one after the other type of thing. You just don't know how people are going to react, because where is it that it's that point that, okay, everybody back to work and go, right? It's going to be more gradual than that, right? But where is that point where everybody goes, yeah, we beat this? And if that moment happens, I kind of tend with the massive upsurge. Pent up. Yeah, so but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's all speculation, but let's throw a visual, and if we can, pop up the screen for the viewers real quick. So what we're talking about, for those that haven't seen this before, whenever it gets online, is basically just like the flow of the freight volume. So there it is.
There we are.
So the blue line there, that blue mountain, whatever you want to call it, that surge there. So you see that where that mountain starts. That's right at the beginning of March.
Yeah.
About a 30% rise in roughly a 25-day period, give or take.
Yeah.
And then we've tapered off. We just came back down to where volumes were in February, before this mountain happened. So we're back to normal. So the question is, do we keep dipping below? We might, but then when we come back online, do we have another surge like we just seen, maybe a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever that timeline is? That's what we're talking about for the viewers.
I mean, I think really you just have to wait out the rest of the month. I think it's definitely going to go dip below that line.
Yeah.
We're already going to be confined here until the end of this month, so I can definitely see it really dipping down even lower. I mean, my supply chain experience really only comes back to 6 years. So obviously Vincent's got a little bit more of experience in some of these trying times of a true business cycle. So, but I could definitely feel it coming down a little bit lower. And one thing, even someone on our LinkedIn page was asking about, how will rates compare Q2 2020 compared to Q2 2019? Obviously, completely different types of volatility. When we had a lot of pull forward in 2019, we had a lot of pent up volumes that were brought in at the end of 2019. So how do you guys kind of foresee that? How would you even compare the two?
It's difficult to compare. That goes back to historical models, I think, not really working. The only thing I can say, that green line there, those are the tender rejections. So you can see they're following the volume levels a little bit, but they're not quite down as low. They haven't gone back to their normal level. So when that's elevated, spot market rates are elevated too. So
they are, and then it's fragmented.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the different markets, that's the USA overall.
That's the USA.
Yeah. And that's what I'm talking. We keep talking about that, and it's important to know what's happening overall in the macro economy. But then it's those fragments, because you can look at it and you see like Harrisburg, the volumes are coming down, but they're still way elevated.
Yeah. No.
Let's look at this real quick.
There's certain areas where that happens. Like we've found Mobile, Alabama yesterday. There was just this spike in OTRI and so on. And now you've got imports that are increasing, which will eventually hit the rail, which then will eventually hit the local haul, short haul indices, and then translate onto the long haul. So. Yeah, rates are going to come down, and obviously volumes are coming down, and capacity is loosening, but it's so fragmented. That's where you've got to be on top of all the different markets and watch what's going on.
And that's exactly what this is right here. So this is I filtered it to dry van. We could do the same thing for reefer if we wanted to, but this is dry van 7-day volume change. This is as of this morning, right? The markets in blue are markets that are actually increasing in volume. The markets in red are having the strongest decrease, and the markets in white are seeing a slight decrease. So, I mean, obviously, you've got some of these markets that are having a really strong decrease. I mean, no surprise there. Grand Rapids, Michigan, 30% decrease in volumes, right? I mean, heavy. So that's heavily reliant on the auto manufacturers. Yeah. But you come over here and you see places like Alexandria, right outside of DC, almost a 43% increase. It's tough to see from here. That's a 43% increase in volume, right? Or even Cedar Rapids, almost a 20% increase in volume. Right, so there's still plenty of blue in the market, or even some areas in white that are decreasing at a much slower rate. So, like you said, everybody's getting hit a little differently.
And these are volumes, right?
These are volumes,
Yeah. So I mean, even when you're looking at the volumes, just because they've come down, even when you're looking at like Atlanta, right? So
Atlanta's white, so it's come down only a little bit.
Right, it's come down, but then you've got what is right below it? Is that Tifton right below it?
Macon is right below.
Macon, and then you got Tifton down there. So, I mean, even when you're looking at those volumes coming down. What's the capacity doing in there, right?
Yeah. Right.
What's the inbound looking like in those particular markets, right?
Right.
If inbound is decreasing faster than the outbound is decreasing, you can still have that rejection and pressure upward on rates.
Right.
And then you got to look at what's happening in the markets next to it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I believe if you look at Tifton, reefer volumes are through the roof. Right now.
And I think that's too where the tender rejections come in, to your point, because if capacity tightens, that'll ultimately have an impact on those tender rejections. So I changed the map here for everybody. This is the weekly tender rejection change, or the 7-day change.
Oh, okay.
So this is as of this morning. So markets in blue are where tender rejections are going up. That's where you start to see spot market rates start to follow along with this. So if you're in a market that's blue, just because volume, maybe outbound volume's decreasing, like you said, tender rejections are going up. Shippers are having to dive in a little deeper to their routing guides. Spot market rates are going up. I like to use this for a sales approach. I mean, if I'm targeting somebody, we all know sales is about finding somebody at the right time.
Sure.
Right? If I call somebody in a blue market, I know that those shippers are having a little bit harder time covering their freight than somebody in a red market.
Yeah, and this is almost like we scripted this, and I assure you we did not. Because
I pulled these charts together like 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, this is take number 3, right?
Yeah, right.
because I mean, that's a totally, decidedly different map than you were just looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at the other one was volumes, right? You think, well, volumes are just falling off a cliff. Therefore, capacity's out there. I can ship stuff anywhere, no problem. I can find capacity any place. There it is. No, you can't.
Right.
You cannot.
Exactly. And it's, something that you brought up, Vincent, early, I think in my career here at FreightWaves has always been, you can't just look at one indice. one indice doesn't describe exactly what's going on in the market.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people in the supply chain world has always been tried and true. Some of the things that they've done in the past, those pillars of, let me go talk to Vincent and let me go see what these historical rates are looking like internally.
Talk to Vincent, he doesn't believe anything.
Yeah, I can't. I'm afraid to call him. I got to be prepared for an hour-long conversation. It's one of those types of things. But this is like exactly what you're talking about. It's like we just looked at volumes. Now we're looking at rejections, and a lot of people will correlate that volumes going down means rejections going down, and volumes going up means rejections going up. So prices going down, prices going up. It should be directly correlated, but it's not.
Yeah, and the danger is on both sides, whether you're a shipper, a carrier, or on all three sides, shipper, carrier, or intermediary, right? I mean, a shipper, you see that first map that you showed, and a shipper looks at that and goes, well, hey, I can get capacity anywhere, right?
Right.
And you look at it from a broker or whatever, you say, well, there's no opportunities for me, right? I may as well take what I can get. Then you show them this. Now, wait a minute, now it's a different story.
Right.
So
because in a down market, you can still make money.
Right.
Who doesn't want to make money, right?
Am I right?
Yeah.
So, perfect. It's a perfect
No, that's
map.
great. And there's actually Greg White from Active Advisors wanted, Mike, don't want to get your engine roared up here. What are your thoughts on the tender volume index presented here? So I know we kind of answered that, but what are your thoughts? How do you focus your efforts to make sure you're helping your sales team out, helping your capacity team up by looking at these volumes? I mean, what is your thoughts on that?
If I was using Sonar or any other, I like Sonar. It's the best. It's the fastest data. It's the most complete data. But the thing is, you can set up market tables based on who your customer base is, right?
Right.
And maps. And you can set alerts on it, so when you wake up in the morning, it's already telling you where those issues are, and then you can see exactly, okay, I've got to take care of these customers first because they're in danger, and then I can look at these markets here because of the greatest opportunity for me, or they have the greatest hurdles for me, depending on your perspective, right? Of where you're at on the three sides of the equation. And that's how I would use it, and that's how I kind of interpret this, the tender volumes that we're looking at here. The danger is falling into this, volumes are dying, therefore this is what's happening. But it's not happening everywhere. This isn't a linear event across the board. It's not homogenous to everybody.
It's kind of like when the volumes were going up and the rejections were going up, that people were just assuming that price was being inflated across the board. Yeah. Which it wasn't.
It wasn't. Well, we even heard stories. We were hearing stories where on the same lane, somebody would quote this price and be like, "Oh man, you're a blessing. That's a great rate." And then somebody else would say, "Well, you're way high." On the exact same when this first started, because people don't have the same vision of what is going on.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's too, like the tender rejections tell the story of why something's happening, right? It tells that story of like, if rates are going up, well, where'd you come up with that number?
Yeah.
Oh, well, shit, everybody's going to the spot market trying to find better rates, or there's no capacity or whatever. Okay, great.
Because we've been doing this for a few years.
Yeah.
We know when tender rejections hit a certain percentage or percentage change, volatility, it's going to cause a change up or down in rates in a specific market, because we've been watching those markets and the normalization of those markets, so you know it's going to happen, right?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things, I was talking to one of our customers the other day, and what they were saying was they're using this so heavily right now as a sales tool, not just for acquiring new customers, but for also making sure that they're better serving their current customers.
Yeah,
they were seeing volume
absolutely.
levels rise in a certain area, but I don't remember what the number was. Let's just say 10%, right? But they didn't see that increase in their customers, so they called their customers and was like, "Oh goodness, you guys took some. I didn't know that you guys would have capacity. Yeah, you can have it. Here you go." They were moving some of that freight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and those stories are, I mean, they go back for the last couple of years of evangelizing Sonar and talking with customers where, talking with a reefer carrier and showing them Sonar for the first time, and they're looking at this and they saw a specific market where tender rejects were really high, and they happen to have a customer in there.
Yeah.
Immediately, while on the phone, called that customer and said, "Hey, do you need extra capacity?" "Absolutely, we do," and made that sale right there. So,
Boom.
it's there. The opportunity.
So charged them double. Just kidding.
I charged him the consulting fee, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah. That went to Mike
Finder's fee,
Vincent's
Make that check out
happy
to-
hour fund.
Again, with the happy hour in the
Sorry, I don't know. Just, but, you know, I see the problem is I've been stuck indoors for so long.
I get it.
We're not going out. Need some of that social interaction.
Those Zoom happy hours are getting the best
Yeah,
of you.
those Zoom happy hours are getting the best of me, which we don't do. We said we were going to do that, but we never did.
So you one of those guys that puts a different type of beer in each one of the rooms in your house so that you can go on a bar crawl on a Friday night?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the problem is no. Well, anyways,
Frowned
whatever.
upon,
Yeah, it's slightly frowned upon. I don't know. Somebody's doing it for sure. I was talking to a guy today. He's been working off of his laptop on like a floaty in his pool. Just like, you know, what are you gonna do?
Hear the birds chirping in the background. That's the worst part about it, is that we're stuck at home and it's beautiful out. This weekend was a great weekend, like a real true spring day. So that's been the downside, is getting fines at the park for being out.
Yeah, that's
that's unfortunately reality, but it looks like we're flattening on the curve there a little bit, and hopefully people continue to keep that, seriously adhere to the social distancing and staying at home, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we came in here. We're as soon, like before we sit down one at a time. We're wiping everything down. We're wiping our mics down. I think.
So my hands are just cracked and dry, and knuckles cracking and everything from just constant.
Oh yeah. We got all kinds of Lysol things under here to spray everything. Yeah, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
But anyway, what are you gonna do? The cool thing though, so not to get too much off topic, but the curve, like you said, is starting to flatten out. If we keep to these tight restrictions of social distancing right now, washing our hands, doing all that good stuff, I mean, we could start to see that come down a lot sooner than projected if everybody.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that yesterday on the coronavirus freight market update, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon. But the projections have come down.
Yeah.
For sure they have. And then they dropped again from yesterday to today on the projections of where that height is. It was, it's somewhere in the 50,000 now when at the total deaths USA, which is sometime mid to late May, is in the like 50 to 51 or 60,000. When the day that's today. Now, yesterday it was at like 81,000. So as we do what we're supposed to be doing, things are changing and it's working out all right.
Yeah.
Now the difficult thing, and why you need to be watching these freight markets, is at what point do we go back to work? At what point do we start to ease, and where is that going to happen first?
Right.
Yeah. What industries does that mean first?
Yeah, I mean that's just like you said. It's going to happen differently in different markets. I mean, what do you think it would do to the auto industry? I mean, we know that volumes have fallen like a rock out of Michigan for obvious reasons. You guys have any speculations or guesses there? Does that just like all of a sudden shoot through the roof, or is that a gradual rise?
I feel like it's got to be a gradual, because depending on the plant, because clearly if you're a manufacturer who then adjusted their manufacturing facilities to start serving a different product, you're used to doing car parts, now you're doing face masks, you're used to doing liquor, now you're doing hand sanitizer, or whatever it is, there's definitely going to be a little bit of a hangover, a delay before you are now officially back up and running. And, that's kind of my thought on it. I mean, there definitely had to been some customizations to that manufacturing plant in order to do so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an economist. I'm not sure. I mean, I have some thoughts, but I don't know how valid they are on it, right? I mean, there's the one side of it is the pent-up demand. Right?
Yeah.
And I've got the money, let's go do it. But then there's a certain segment of the population, and a large percentage of the population, unfortunately right now, that are on furlough at home, that are counting on this stimulus package. And then when we start going back to work, do all those small businesses come back to work? Do they get those jobs? And there's going to be that delay of how secure am I? And then as we go back to work, is there a re-outbreak type of thing that's going to happen? And there's that kind of conservative financial kind of mindset that I think will definitely set in with some portion of the population, but how much I don't know. And I think that really would be in the durable goods type of thing, right?
Right.
I can get another year out of this car.
Yeah. No, that's a valid point. I was along with that. I was shifting gears to say like produce or frozen foods a little bit. I was talking with Seth Holmes. He's one of our senior research analysts for those that don't know, and he's covering consumer goods industry quite heavily. And so we saw refrigerated volumes surge, actually even more than dry van volumes.
We did, yeah.
And a lot of that just due to, I mean, I think the number he told me was 50% of all food is from restaurants and 50% is from the grocery store that people eat.
Right, yeah.
And everybody's going home. There's a lot, that 50% from the restaurant starts to shrink. A lot more people buy groceries.
Yeah, so we were looking at it in the cross-border produce.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's dropping dramatically.
Yeah.
Because people are changing, they have to change. It's not a decision. It is, you can't go to restaurants.
Continue to see those videos on like LinkedIn of farmers having to dump some of their produce, like onions is down significantly because that's really big on the restaurant business, and milk. That's just, I can't really count. It's probably like 6 or 7 of those videos of different types of companies that are just dumping the product right now.
Well, and you hear of anecdotal stories of restaurants actually doing grocery delivery of their stock that they have that is going to go bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Across the street. That's what they're doing.
Oh, is that what they're doing across the street?
Yeah, giving away avocados or delivering them, selling them. Yeah, because they don't have the.
I only get out of my house once a week, so I don't see that.
Yeah, no, but
we're honored.
There's something where you can liken this to 9/11, right? When we get to that point where it's okay, let's start getting back to work, and it's serious, that we can get back to work, and there's not going to be this major outbreak again, right?
Right.
There was all this push from the government, et cetera, to stimulate people going out and doing things, right? They declared like national go to a restaurant day and that type of stuff. I could see that happening again.
Yeah.
Right? To get that push, to get things going again and get people out and get them used to it's safe, go.
I think that's going to be on like
but
the
where
sport.
do you get to that? And where is
I think it starts with sports. Isn't that, post 9/11, we had some baseball getting back into it.
Yeah.
I think when you start seeing the NFL, the NBA, all these different the MLB coming back into it, NHL, I mean, you're definitely that will, I think, give some confidence to a consumer that, okay, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
They're playing baseball now. I think we can go back.
We can all go.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any fear though that gets left with people? Because when you pack those stadiums, everybody's sitting next to each other. People are going to want to sit next to each other right away.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely
didn't like it
think
before.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it wasn't Ohio State football,
Yeah. If you guys can notice the red collar underneath his blue FreightWaves shirt.
There it is.
Little Buckeyes action there. No, it's okay. I'm not a fan. I don't watch college football, so it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, even down, I saw on Twitter that Dana White is looking at an island purchase for some international fights so that they can still have that going. I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, a little bit of a segue here. So, but how do we tie that a fight island back to Sonar here? So
I don't know. Well, somebody will have to manufacture the goods for the island to make the stadium, all that. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe a broker watching this can get that transportation contract.
I think it does relate to what you're talking about here in the down market and what to look for and how to use the data. Is because you look at these different industries that could be affected. Auto manufacturing, we talked about. Restaurants, we talked about. Sports, we talked about.
Yeah.
And different things happen because of that, right? I mean, there's freight forwarders that are dedicated towards just music concerts, tours.
Yeah.
Right? Those are done.
Yeah.
When those start opening, all right, they need to know when those are happening and where they're happening and that type of stuff. And obviously they have that inside track. But if you're in general freight as an intermediary or a carrier, you need to be watching all these different markets and listening to what's going on. FreightWaves being an excellent source through shows like this and through FreightWaves.com as to what is happening out there. We're talking to all the people. We have experts and so on and so forth. You got to be looking at that stuff to understand what is moving and when, so you can target those markets even when you're in a down market, because there are things. It's fragmenting. Not everything is crashing.
Right.
It is all coming down a little bit, but there are spikes here and there as things change and so on.
Take advantage of them. It's
Yeah.
funny, I actually, when I was in a freight brokerage, a large part of my business was the entertainment industry. I moved a lot of shows and everything all around the place. So
interesting.
glad, I guess I moved
A lot
to
of
FreightWaves
just-in-time stuff, right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
You moved Justin Timberlake stuff, yeah? Is that what you said?
No. I don't know. Maybe I did.
Oh, maybe. I was going to say.
A lot of times I went
that
from
did be
movies.
some Justin Timberlake, man.
Went from
No, I mean,
moving
I was on the
entertainment
phone all the time, in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning.
What's up, Justin?
Hey, man, you want to get some happy hour?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm just kidding. All right, folks, we're going to end there. This has been a great episode. Do we have any last comments on LinkedIn or Facebook?
Just a couple people on Facebook really just giving us quick shout outs, thanking us for the information.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Yeah.
Right on. Folks, pleasure. Thank you for watching again. This is with Sonar. We're live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Leave us a comment down below. And if you're curious and you want to learn more about Sonar, give us a comment, shoot us a message, or just have questions in general about the market, or just want to talk about happy hour, leave us a comment. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Take care. Be safe out there.